You stand on the ancient causeway, the vast city of Tenochtitlan sprawling before you. The air here, though bustling, carries a faint, percussive rhythm, a deep pulse beneath the surface of this magnificent empire. For the mighty Aztec people, life was a constant, intricate dance with powerful, demanding gods. Survival itself depended on a profound covenant, a continuous exchange. You are about to step into a world where the sun required blood to rise, where hearts were offered for the dawn, and where the most sacred devotion could also be the most unsettling. We will journey through the disturbing rituals that defined a civilization, practices woven into the very fabric of their existence. You feel the ancient stones beneath your feet, feel the deep, percussive pulse of a city built on a profound, terrifying understanding of the universe. For the Mexica people, the Aztecs, the world you now inhabit was not a stable, guaranteed place. It was a fragile creation, constantly teetering on the brink of collapse. Imagine a universe that has ended not once, not twice, but 4 times before your very eyes. Each previous sun, each cosmic age destroyed by cataclysmic events. By jaguars, by wind, by fiery rain, by a great flood. Now, you live under the rule of the 5th sun, Tonatiuh, the movement of which is not a given. It is a daily struggle, a desperate battle against the encroaching darkness, a cosmic debt to be paid. This sun, this world, was bought with sacrifice, born from the self-immolation of a humble god, Nanahuatzin. His act of ultimate giving ignited the new dawn, but it established a precedent. Life itself demands payment. And for the Aztecs, that payment was blood. The most precious substance, the essence of life, was the only fuel powerful enough to keep the 5th sun on its arduous journey across the sky. You look towards the towering pyramids, their crimson-painted steps leading to the heavens. At their summit, particularly the Templo Mayor, twin shrines reached for the clouds. One dedicated to Tlaloc, god of rain and fertility. The other, the more imposing one, to Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird of the south, patron god of Tenochtitlan, god of war, and, crucially, god of the sun. Huitzilopochtli was a demanding deity. Born fully armed from his mother Coatlicue, he immediately defended her against his jealous siblings, the Coyolxauhqui and the Sensational, the 400 Southerners. This divine battle, a cosmic victory over darkness, set the stage for the daily struggle of the sun. To keep Huitzilopochtli strong, to ensure his triumph each morning over the forces of night, he required ichor, a divine fluid. And that ichor was human blood, specifically the beating hearts of the most courageous warriors. You might recoil at the thought, but for the Aztec this was not an act of wanton cruelty. It was the highest form of piety, a sacred duty, the only means to prevent the return of cosmic chaos. It was their sacred covenant with the divine. The priests, adorned in elaborate regalia, their hair matted with dried blood, were not executioners in your sense. They were cosmic engineers, maintaining the delicate balance of existence. When a victim, often a captured enemy warrior, ascended the steep steps of the Templo Mayor, they were not simply dying. They were participating in the greatest drama of all, the daily rebirth of the sun. They were becoming vessels for the most vital offering imaginable. You would witness the solemn procession, the drumbeats echoing across the ceremonial plaza. The air would be thick with the scent of copal incense, mingling perhaps with a different, metallic tang. The ritual itself was precise. 4 priests would hold the victim down on a sacrificial stone, typically a curved, convex surface that arched the chest upwards. A 5th priest, the Tlamacazqui, wielding a flint knife, would make a swift incision beneath the ribcage. With practiced skill, the priest would reach into the chest and extract the still beating heart, lifting it high towards the sun, towards Huitzilopochtli. This was the moment of cosmic renewal. The heart, the precious Calchihuatl, or precious water, was placed in a kuoxicalli, a stone vessel often carved with eagle feathers, symbolizing the sun. The body, after this ultimate offering, was then often rolled down the pyramid steps, coming to rest at the base, near the Coilzaqui stone, a massive carved disc depicting Huitzilopochtli's dismembered sister. This was a symbolic reenactment of the divine struggle, a constant reminder of the sun god's victory. The skulls of the sacrificed, cleaned and polished, would be displayed on a tsimpantli, a massive skull rack near the Templo Mayor. You would see it, a stark, chilling testament to the thousands of lives offered in service of the cosmos. These were not trophies of war in the modern sense, but rather a collective declaration of faith, a tally of lives dedicated to preventing global catastrophe. This constant need for blood, this cosmic imperative, profoundly shaped Aztec society. It fueled their relentless military expansion, their flower wars, which were not just about territorial conquest but about acquiring warriors specifically for sacrifice. These were ritualized conflicts, often prearranged, designed to capture rather than kill on the battlefield, providing the food for the gods. You realize that the grandeur of Tenochtitlan, the intricate artistry, the complex social structure, all hinged on this one terrifying belief. The beauty and terror were intertwined, inseparable. Every sunrise, every harvest, every victory, every moment of peace, was a direct consequence of these offerings. The Aztecs believed they were not just living in the world, they were actively maintaining it, holding the fabric of reality together with the most profound, and to your modern sensibilities, the most disturbing act imaginable. This was their bargain with the universe. A world sustained by blood, a sun that rose only if the people of Tenochtitlan were brave enough and devout enough to pay the ultimate price. You look around the bustling marketplace at the skilled artisans, the diligent farmers, the children playing. All of them understood this sacred contract. All of them lived under the shadow and the light of the fifth sun, a sun that demanded its due. It is a heavy truth to bear, this understanding of their cosmic responsibility. To them, these were not acts of barbarism but acts of profound, necessary love for their gods and for the continued existence of their world. And as you stand here, feeling the ancient energy of this place, you begin to grasp the sheer weight of that imperative. The sun must rise. And for the Aztec, there was only one way to ensure it. You have understood the driving force, the cosmic hunger that shaped an empire. Now you must ascend. You turn your gaze from the vibrant market below, past the bustling canals and the floating gardens, towards the towering heart of this city, the Templo Mayor. It stands immense, a dual pyramid crowned by two temples, one red for Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, and one blue for Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility. It is towards the red temple, the shrine of Huitzilopochtli, that you now begin your climb. Imagine the sheer scale of this structure, rising 90 feet into the clear sky, dominating the sacred precinct. As you approach the base, the chatter of the marketplace begins to fade, replaced by a different kind of sound. A low, persistent drumbeat, perhaps, or the distant, haunting wail of a conch shell trumpet. The air itself seems to thicken, charged with an energy far older than the stones beneath your feet. You begin to ascend the steep, worn steps. There are many of them, each one a testament to the countless feet that have trod this path before you. Priests, warriors, supplicants, and yes, those chosen for the ultimate honor. The incline is sharp, designed not just as a physical challenge, but as a spiritual one, a gradual detachment from the earthly realm below. With each step, the city stretches out further, an intricate tapestry of causeways and chinampas, all held within the vast embrace of Lake Texcoco. You can feel the wind pick up as you near the summit, carrying with it a faint, metallic scent that you cannot quite place, but your ancient self knows instinctively. You reach the broad platform at the top, the vast plaza that separates the two great temples. Here the sounds are clearer. The rhythmic drumming is now undeniable, deep and resonant, a heartbeat for the world. You see the priests, their long matted hair stained with dried blood, their bodies adorned with rich cloaks and elaborate featherwork. Their eyes hold an intensity that speaks of unwavering faith, a devotion carved from the very bedrock of their beliefs. Before you, directly in front of Huitzilopochtli's temple, lies the Teocalli, the sacrificial stone. It is not just a block of stone, it is an altar, a place of profound power and terrifying purpose. You examine its surface. It is smooth in places, rough in others, and yes, undeniably, you see the dark stains, the indelible marks of countless offerings made over generations. This stone has absorbed the essence of 1,000 lives, each one given freely or forcefully, all for the singular, unyielding purpose of sustaining the cosmos. Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird of the south, was not merely a god. He was the sun itself, or at least the force that propelled it across the sky each day. Born fully armed from his mother Coatlicue, he fought his siblings to protect her, emerging victorious. His sustenance, his very essence, was human blood and hearts. Without these vital offerings, the sun would falter, its warmth would diminish, and the fifth sun, the current age of the world, would plunge into eternal darkness. This was not cruelty, this was divine necessity. You stand there, feeling the weight of that understanding. The priests move with a solemn grace, their movements precise, almost ritualistic in themselves. A procession approaches. The chosen one, perhaps a captured warrior, perhaps a young man or woman specially selected, is led forward. Their fate is sealed, yet in their eyes there might be a flicker of fear, but also perhaps an acceptance, even a profound honor. To be sacrificed on the Templo Mayor for Huitzilopochtli was not a simple death. It was an ascension, a direct path to companionship with the sun god, a glorious end that ensured the continuation of all life. 4 priests, strong and experienced, take hold of the offering, laying them carefully yet firmly onto the sacrificial stone. Their limbs are held down, stretched taut, exposing the chest to the vast, open sky. The 5th priest, the holiest among them, approaches, holding a sharpened obsidian knife. It gleams wickedly in the brilliant sunlight, a dark sliver of volcanic glass honed to an almost impossible edge. This is not just a tool, it is a sacred instrument, an extension of the god's will. The moment hangs in the air, heavy with anticipation. The drums intensify, a thunderous rhythm that vibrates through your very bones. The air is still, save for the wind and perhaps the faint, collective breath of the thousands gathered in the plaza below, watching, waiting. The priest raises the obsidian blade high above his head, catching the sun's reflection one last time. Then, with a swift, practiced motion, the blade descends. It makes a precise incision beneath the ribcage, severing the diaphragm. There is a gasp, perhaps, a tremor of the body, but the hold of the 4 priests is unyielding. The priest's hand dives into the opening, strong and sure, reaching for the organ that has beat since birth, the very essence of life, the heart. With a powerful tug, the heart is torn from the chest, still beating, still pulsing with the warmth of life. You see it, held aloft, steaming slightly in the cool air, crimson and vibrant. This is the heart, the nourishment, the sacred offering for Huitzilopochtli. It is immediately placed into a kuoxicalli, a stone vessel specifically designed to hold these vital offerings. The blood, life-giving and potent, flows down the channels carved into the sacrificial stone, down the steps of the pyramid, symbolically feeding the earth, nurturing the very foundations of the world. The body, now lifeless, is unceremoniously pushed down the steep steps of the pyramid. It tumbles, end over end, a stark, visceral reminder of the ultimate cost. Below, at the base, other priests might await to dismember it, the limbs sometimes offered to noble families for ritualistic consumption, the skull added to the tsimpantli, the skull rack, a grim monument to the power and demands of the gods. This act, witnessed by you, is not a singular event. It is repeated, day after day, week after week, particularly during specific festivals or after successful battles. The sheer scale is staggering. Imagine the constant flow of life, the continuous stream of hearts and blood, all funneled towards this one purpose: to keep the sun alive, to ensure the cycle of day and night, of planting and harvest, of life itself. You feel the cold stone beneath your feet, the biting wind on your face. The metallic scent in the air is stronger now. This place is saturated with history, with belief, with the echoes of desperate prayers and ultimate sacrifices. To the Aztec, this was their most profound act of piety. It was a cosmic transaction, a debt repaid. Each heart offered was a promise kept, a reaffirmation of their sacred duty to the divine. Their world, magnificent and complex, was built upon this understanding. The beauty of their art, the precision of their astronomy, the ingenuity of their engineering, all existed under the shadow and the light of the sacrificial blade. It was the highest form of communication with the gods, the most potent prayer, the most direct way to participate in the ongoing creation and preservation of the universe. As you stand on the summit of the Templo Mayor, with the sprawling city of Tenochtitlan below and the vast, indifferent sky above, you begin to comprehend the profound, terrifying logic of it all. The sun still rises each day, centuries after the obsidian knives were last raised here. For the Aztec, it was because they paid the price. They gave their hearts, literally, to ensure the world continued. And as you feel the warmth of that sun on your skin, you cannot help but acknowledge the power of such an absolute, unwavering belief. The heart, the most vital organ, was not just a symbol of life. It was the fuel for the cosmos itself. To feed the cosmos, to sustain the sun, required more than mere belief. It demanded action. It demanded a constant, terrifying engagement with the gods, a series of offerings that would shock and appall you, yet for the Aztec they were the very bedrock of existence. You are about to step deeper into this world, into the heart of their sacred calendar, where every month brought its own set of rituals, its own specific demands, its own feast of the gods. Imagine standing in the vast central plaza of Tenochtitlan, the air thick with the murmur of thousands, the distant thrum of drums vibrating through the soles of your feet. The scent of copal incense, sweet and heavy, mixes with something else, something metallic and undeniably primal. This is not a casual gathering. It is a meticulously choreographed drama, a sacred performance played out on a monumental stage, watched by an entire civilization. Each of the 18 months in the Aztec calendar, 20 days long, was dedicated to a specific deity, marked by elaborate ceremonies and almost invariably by the offering of human life. Consider the rites dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird on the left, the fierce god of sun and war, the patron deity of Tenochtitlan itself. His temple, one of the twin shrines atop the Templo Mayor, pulsed with his fiery energy. You would witness processions winding through the city streets, priests adorned in elaborate costumes, feathers shimmering, carrying effigies of the god. The air crackles with anticipation. The victims, often captured warriors, are led to the foot of the pyramid, their bodies painted, their fate sealed, but their spirit, perhaps, buoyed by the belief that their sacrifice would ensure the sun's journey across the sky, would empower their people. You follow the human tide as it surges towards the pyramid base. The steep stairs, red with old stains you dare not name, ascend to the sky. With each step, the city below shrinks, and the wind whispers prophecies from the four directions. At the summit, before the twin temples of Tlaloc and Huitzilopochtli, stands the Techcatl, the sacrificial stone. You see the priests, their hair matted with dried blood, their faces grimly focused. The obsidian knives, razor-sharp, glint in the harsh sunlight. A chosen warrior is brought forward. He is held by four officiants, stretched back over the stone, his chest exposed to the heavens. The lead priest plunges the blade into his chest, beneath the rib cage. With practiced skill, he reaches in, severs the arteries, and extracts the still-beating heart. It is held aloft, steaming in the cool morning air, an offering to the hungry sun god, before being placed in a kuoxikali, a stone vessel. The body is then cast down the pyramid steps, tumbling to be further dismembered or ritually consumed by the warriors who captured him. This was not just sacrifice, it was communion, a direct infusion of life force into the cosmos. But Huitzilopochtli was just one of many gods demanding such devotion. Turn your gaze to the more unsettling rites of Xipe-Totec, our Lord the Flayed One. This deity, associated with spring agricultural renewal and the shedding of the old for the new, demanded a sacrifice of a different, more chilling nature. During the Tlacaxiphualiztli festival, held in early spring, victims were flayed alive. You would see them, once men and women, stripped of their skin, their flesh exposed, their agony a prayer for the maize to sprout, for the earth to be revitalized. Imagine the sight, the sounds, the sheer visceral horror. Yet, for the Aztec, this was a profoundly symbolic act. Just as the earth sheds its dry, dead layer to reveal new growth, so too did the victims shed their skin, mirroring the renewal of nature. Priests, and sometimes even victorious warriors, would wear the flayed skins of these victims for 20 days, a new skin that symbolized fertility and the promise of rebirth. The stench of human skin, slowly decaying, would fill the air around the temples, a constant, potent reminder of the cycle of life and death, of renewal at a terrible price. Then there were the offerings to Tlaloc, the ancient, revered god of rain, lightning, and mountain springs. His benevolent aspect brought the life-giving waters, but his wrath could bring drought and famine. To appease Tlaloc, particularly during times of scarcity or at the start of the rainy season, the most innocent of lives were sometimes offered: children. You would hear their cries echoing over the lake as they were led to sacred mountain tops or submerged in cenotes, natural wells considered gateways to the underworld. The tears of the children were seen as especially potent, mirroring the rain that Tlaloc would send. It is a detail that perhaps most vividly underscores the desperate lengths to which the Aztec went to ensure the survival of their world, a world utterly dependent on the cycles of nature, a world where the line between prayer and terror blurred irrevocably. These were not random acts of cruelty. They were deeply embedded in the Aztec worldview, a complex cosmology that demanded constant vigilance and unending reciprocation. The gods had sacrificed to create the world and humanity in turn had to sacrifice to maintain it. It was a cosmic debt, endlessly repaid. You, as an observer in this ancient city, would feel the constant tension between the vibrant, bustling marketplace, the intricate social structure, the beautiful craftsmanship, and this ever-present shadow of the sacred knife. The sound of conch shell trumpets, the beating of drums, the rhythmic chants of the priests. These were the background score to life itself. The ceremonies could be grand, public spectacles drawing thousands, or smaller, more intimate rites performed within specific kalpuli, neighborhood groups, each with its own patron deity and ritual calendar. The entire society was structured around this sacred obligation. Historians still debate the exact numbers, but it is clear that thousands of lives were offered each year across the empire. The scale of these sacrifices was immense, a continuous, systematic process designed to power a demanding universe. War for the Aztec was often referred to as flowery war or sacred war, a means to capture new victims, to feed the insatiable gods, to acquire the divine sustenance of human blood and hearts. The battlefield was a harvesting ground for the most precious of offerings. Imagine the psychological impact on the society. Life was precarious, death ever-present, but it was a death imbued with profound meaning, a path to ensuring the continuation of the cosmos, the well-being of the collective. The individual's life in the grand scheme was a temporary vessel, its ultimate purpose to nourish the greater cosmic order. As you witness these scenes or piece together their echoes from the stones and texts, you are confronted with a profound challenge to your modern sensibilities. It is easy to judge, to recoil in horror, to dismiss these acts as barbaric. But to truly understand the Aztec, you must strive to see through their eyes, to feel the weight of their cosmic responsibility. For them, every beat of a sacrificed heart was a pulse of life for the sun, every drop of blood a vital rain for the earth. The very continued existence of their world, the rising of the sun each morning, the ripening of the corn, the stability of their empire, was contingent upon these terrifying necessary feasts of the gods. And as you look up at the vast, indifferent sky, you can almost hear the silent demand of the universe, a demand they answered with unwavering devotion, with hearts literally given. As you have begun to grasp the monumental scale of the Aztec offerings, the vast public spectacles designed to sustain the sun and the very fabric of existence, you might imagine that personal devotion was a quieter, less demanding affair. But you would be mistaken. The cosmic responsibility that weighed so heavily on the empire was also a deeply personal burden, one answered not just by the lives of captives, but by the very bodies of the people themselves. Imagine yourself in a secluded corner of a temple compound, or perhaps within the private chambers of a noble's home, even in the humble dwelling of a farmer. The air is thick with a different kind of solemnity now, not the roaring crowds but a hushed reverence. Here the path of penance is etched not in stone, but in flesh and blood, a daily conversation between human and divine. This is the realm of auto-sacrifice, of bloodletting, a ritual so ingrained in Aztec life that it colored every prayer, every plea, every thanksgiving. For the Aztec, blood was the most precious substance, the ultimate nourishment for the gods. It was life itself, the animating force that flowed through the veins of every creature, from the tiniest insect to the mighty jaguar. And so, to offer one's own blood was to offer a piece of one's very essence, a direct and potent gift to the deities who govern the universe. It was an act of profound humility and immense power, a tangible sign of unwavering devotion. You watch as a priest, his eyes alight with spiritual intensity, prepares for the ritual. He handles an obsidian blade, honed to razor sharpness, or perhaps a bundle of cactus spines, long and needle-thin, harvested from the maguey plant. Sometimes it is a stingray spine, barbed and formidable, brought from the distant coasts. These are not merely instruments of pain, they are sacred tools, conduits for the offering. He begins by piercing his earlobes, perhaps multiple times, allowing drops of his own vital fluid to well up and trickle down his neck. The small rivulets are carefully collected on strips of paper, absorbent and symbolic, which will later be burned as an offering, sending the essence of the blood into the heavens as smoke. You might wince at the sight, but for him there is no hesitation, only purpose. The ears were a common sight for bloodletting, a public declaration of one's faith, easily visible for all to see. But the priest's devotion, and indeed that of many others, often went far deeper, to more intimate and vulnerable parts of the body. You might see him or another devotee draw a sharp spine across his tongue, a deep and deliberate cut that makes him gasp, but does not deter him. The tongue, the instrument of speech, of prayer, of sacred chants, was made a direct offering, ensuring the sincerity and potency of his words to the gods. Imagine the sting, the sudden rush of warmth and iron taste, as the blood flows from this most articulate part of your being. It is a sacrifice of your voice, your truth, your connection to the divine. This practice was not exclusive to the priestly class. Warriors, before battle, might cut their thighs or calves, offering their strength and courage to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and sun. Nobles, seeking to ensure the prosperity of their people or to mark important calendrical events, would perform elaborate bloodletting ceremonies, sometimes piercing their genitals, an act of supreme sacrifice that offered the very source of life and fertility to the earth and sky gods. Even ordinary citizens, seeking rain for their crops or health for their families, would engage in simpler forms of self-sacrifice, perhaps a small cut on the arm or leg, their humble offering no less significant in the eyes of the gods. The tools used in these rituals were often beautiful in their own way, carved bone needles, polished obsidian, even intricately worked shell discs that served as earplugs, allowing the wounds to remain open and bleed periodically. The pain, you realize, was an integral part of the offering. It was not pain for pain's sake, but a tangible expression of suffering and devotion, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. Through this discomfort, through this physical outpouring, the individual connected directly with the forces that govern their world. Think of the cycles of their life. Before planting corn, before a crucial hunt, before entering a new stage of life, the offering of blood was a sacred prelude. It was a cleansing, a purification, a way to align oneself with the cosmic flow. It was a plea, a thank you, an act of ongoing reciprocity. They believed that just as the earth yielded its bounty to them, so too must they yield a portion of themselves back to the earth, back to the heavens, back to the gods who sustain them. You can almost feel the texture of the coarse maguey fibers being pulled through a pierced ear, the sharp, quick sting of an obsidian sliver against the skin. Hear the soft, rhythmic chanting that might accompany such a personal ritual, the slow, steady breathing of the devotee. Smell the metallic tang of fresh blood mingling with the earthy scent of copal incense, burning nearby, its fragrant smoke carrying prayers skyward. This was not a secret practice, but an openly understood and deeply respected aspect of their spiritual lives. It is easy, from your modern vantage point, to view these acts as extreme, even horrifying. But to understand, you must shed these judgments. For the Aztec, this was a logical, necessary, and deeply meaningful expression of faith. Their world was not a stable, guaranteed entity. It was fragile, constantly teetering on the brink of collapse, threatened by monstrous forces from beyond the known cosmos. The sun itself, they believed, was a weary warrior, needing daily sustenance to complete its journey across the sky and rise again each morning. Your blood, their blood, was the fuel. Every drop was a prayer, a shield, a promise. It was an affirmation of life, paradoxically given through an act of controlled injury. It was the ultimate demonstration of gratitude, of fear, of hope. You see the deep creases of concentration on the priest's face, the controlled breath of the warrior, the quiet determination of the farmer. They are not merely enduring pain. They are participating in the sacred act of creation and sustenance. They are, in their own way, holding the world together, one precious drop of blood at a time. This path of thorns and tongues, of sharp blades and throbbing wounds, was their unwavering answer to the silent, unceasing demand of a universe that needed to be fed. You have seen the warrior offer his own blood, the priest pierce his tongue, the farmer draw from his thigh. You understand now the daily contract, the intimate exchange of life for life, sustenance for the sun. But the universe demands more than mere drops. Sometimes the hunger is different, the need more specific, more desperate. Sometimes the skies themselves hold their breath. The crops wither. The rivers shrink. The dust motes dance in the parched air, clinging to your skin, clouding your vision. And then the demands become unfathomable. You look up, desperate, to the towering peaks that guard this valley, the sacred mountains where the rain god Tlaloc makes his home. Tlaloc. His name echoes with the rumble of distant thunder, the crash of a sudden downpour, the terrifying roar of a flash flood. He is the master of water, the giver of life, the bringer of fertility to a land that relies entirely on his capricious will. Without Tlaloc there is no maize, no sustenance, no life. But Tlaloc is not merely a benevolent force. He is temperamental, easily angered, demanding. His favor must be bought, his wrath appeased, with offerings of the most profound significance. When the drought becomes a suffocating shroud, when the earth cracks open like a dry mouth, when the communal fear transforms into a gnawing terror, the people turn to Tlaloc with the one offering they believe he cannot refuse. You see the elders gather, their faces etched with worry lines deeper than any furrow in the fields. You hear the hushed conversations, the heavy silence that falls over the marketplace. A decision has been made. A terrible, necessary decision. The children. Young, innocent, untainted. They are Tlaloc's chosen. For it is said that the tears of a child, freely given, are the most potent form of rain, a direct conduit to the rain god's own sorrow and his power to unleash the life-giving waters. You watch as the priests, their faces painted in the colors of the storm clouds and the deep earth, begin the selection. They look for specific signs, a vibrant spirit, an unblemished body, a certain spark in the eyes. Not every child is chosen, but those who are considered blessed, destined to serve the highest purpose. You feel a chill trace its way down your spine, a cold dread that has nothing to do with the mountain air. The chosen children, often between the ages of 3 and 6, are dressed in ceremonial finery, adorned with paper ornaments and feathers. They are given rich foods, treated with immense reverence. You observe the solemn procession as it begins its arduous journey. It is a slow, deliberate climb up the steep slopes of the mountains, to the altars dedicated to Tlaloc. The air grows thin. The wind whips around you, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain that never comes. The higher you go, the closer you feel to the realm of the gods, and the farther you feel from the world of human comfort. The priests lead the way, chanting ancient prayers to Tlaloc, their voices echoing off the rocky faces of the peaks. You hear the rhythmic thud of their feet, the rustle of their elaborate cloaks. The parents of the chosen children walk with a mixture of immense pride and profound grief. Their faces are masks of stoicism, but you can see the tremor in their hands, the glint of unshed tears in their own eyes. They believe this sacrifice is for the good of all, for the survival of their entire world. Their child's death will ensure life for countless others. This is the weight of their conviction and the crushing burden of their love. As the procession approaches the summit, the air cools dramatically. Perhaps it is the altitude, or perhaps it is the approaching presence of Tlaloc himself. You feel the sacredness of the place, the raw power of the elements. On the mountaintop, a circular stone altar stands, weathered by centuries of wind and sun. Around it, incense burners smolder, sending plumes of sweet copal smoke coiling towards the leaden sky. The air is thick with the scent of pine resin and burning offerings. The ceremony begins. The children are led to the altar, not as unwilling victims but as sacred messengers. The priests prepare them, their movements precise and practiced. The goal, you remember, is tears. The children must cry. Their tears are the offering, the symbol of the rain Tlaloc must send. To encourage these precious drops, the priests employ several methods. You see them offer the children intoxicating pulque, a fermented agave drink, to disorient them, to make them dizzy and confused. They might intentionally provoke the children, perhaps by pulling out their fingernails, or by subjecting them to loud, jarring noises. You hear the sudden shriek of a flute, a sharp, piercing sound that makes you wince. You see the smoke from the incense waft directly into a child's face, making them cough and their eyes water. The priests might use certain herbs or small, sharp instruments. You stand there, a silent witness, as the young ones begin to whimper, then to sob. Their small faces are streaked with dirt and tears, their tiny bodies shaking. Each tear that falls is carefully collected, believed to be the purest form of petition. The more they cry, the more the priests believe Tlaloc will be moved. The more freely the tears flow, the more abundantly the rain will fall. Once their tears have been offered, the ultimate sacrifice is made. The priests, using obsidian knives, perform the ritual. In some accounts, the children are suffocated or drowned, their bodies then offered to the mountain and to Tlaloc, becoming one with the earth and the water they represent. In others, their hearts are swiftly removed, still beating, presented to the sky, a final, desperate plea. You cannot look away. You cannot reconcile the image of such tender innocence with the brutal efficiency of the sacred act. The screams are swallowed by the wind. The silence that follows is profound, punctuated only by the distant rumble of thunder. Or is it merely the echo of your own pounding heart? As the last drops of blood stain the sacred stone, the sky above you begins to change. Dark clouds, unseen moments before, gather swiftly, swirling around the mountain peaks. A hush falls over the assembled priests and people. The wind picks up, carrying the smell of wet earth. A single drop of rain falls on your cheek, then another. Soon a deluge. The heavens open, unleashing a torrent that washes over the mountaintop, cleansing the altar, carrying away the blood and the tears. You feel the rain on your face, cold and immediate. It is a relief, a blessing, a confirmation. For the Aztec people, this rain is not merely a meteorological event. It is Tlaloc's answer, a direct response to the ultimate offering. The children did not die in vain. Their tears, their lives have saved the community. The maize will grow. The rivers will flow. Life will continue. You see the people below, their faces turned skyward, embracing the downpour with cries of relief and gratitude. They understand the terrible cost, but they also understand the absolute necessity. In a world constantly threatened by cosmic forces, where the sun itself needed blood to rise, the drought was an existential threat demanding the highest price. These children were not simply victims. They were saviors, their brief lives extinguished to rekindle the life of an entire civilization. This is the dark heart of their devotion, a chilling testament to their unwavering faith and their desperate struggle for survival. You bear witness to the profound paradox, that life in this world often demanded its most precious components be given back brutally and willingly to the very gods who sustained it. That profound paradox, that brutal willingness to give back life for life, takes on an even more stark and unsettling form here, in the very heart of the Aztec capital. You stand now before something that defies easy comprehension, a monument built not of stone but of bone. This is the Tzompantli, the skull rack, a sight that will forever be seared into your memory. You cannot escape its presence. It dominates the plaza, rising directly in front of the Templo Mayor, a chilling counterpoint to the vibrant market stalls and the bustling activity around the Great Pyramid. Your eyes are drawn upward to it, a colossal, grid-like structure of immense scale, a rectangular platform supporting row upon row of wooden poles, each one threaded with human skulls. It stands as an undeniable declaration, a silent, macabre sermon preached to all who enter this sacred precinct. Thousands upon thousands of empty eye sockets are fixed upon you, a silent, macabre multitude. They are the eyes of the fallen, the sacrificed, the offerings. Each skull tells a story of a life taken, a ritual completed. These are not random victims. These are the heads of captured warriors from rival cities, of sacrificial offerings made to appease the hungry gods, of individuals deemed worthy of contributing their essence to the cosmic balance. They have been meticulously prepared. You imagine the process, the careful removal of flesh, the cleaning of the bone, the polishing that would have given them a ghostly sheen in the tropical sun. Then each skull was drilled with precise holes, allowing them to be strung onto horizontal wooden poles, which in turn were supported by massive vertical posts, creating a dense, almost woven display of human remains. The sheer effort, the deliberate artistry in constructing such a monument, speaks volumes about its importance. To the Aztec mind, this was far more than simply a trophy rack. It was a potent, living symbol of power, of devotion, and of the cosmic order itself. It was a terrifying warning to enemies, a stark reminder of Tenochtitlan's might, a testament to the inexorable will of the gods and the consequences of defying the Mexican Empire. Imagine being an emissary from a subjugated city, or a warrior led captive into this metropolis. The Tzompantli would have been the first and most unforgettable image to greet you, a chilling promise of your own potential fate. It solidified the absolute authority of the Triple Alliance, sending a clear message: submission or annihilation. But it was also an offering, a continuous prayer made visible, a harvest of life given back to fuel the sun, to ensure the continuation of the world. Each skull, in its ghastly stillness, was not merely an ending, but a seed, a promise of renewal, a vital contribution to the sacred cycle of creation and destruction that governed their universe. The souls, the spirits, the life force of these individuals, were believed to ascend, feeding the deities, ensuring the cosmic engine kept turning. It represented the ultimate act of reciprocity, life taken to give life. The skulls were a testament to the Mexica's commitment to maintaining balance in a volatile cosmos, a physical manifestation of their profound spiritual compact with their gods. The air here is thick with the scent of copal incense, the murmur of the crowd, the distant chanting from the temple altars. But overlaying it all is the faint metallic tang of the bone, the dry dust of antiquity, the chilling quietude of death made manifest. You feel the weight of history pressing down on you, the profound, disturbing logic of a civilization that built its enduring legacy not just on intricate canals and magnificent temples, but also on these silent, watchful guardians of bone. The scale is almost unfathomable. Imagine standing before a wall nearly 50 feet long, over 10 feet high, densely packed with these bleached relics, perhaps even surmounted by larger, more elaborately carved skulls or effigies of deities. The Spanish chroniclers, those who first laid eyes upon Tenochtitlan, spoke of these skull racks with a mixture of horror and awe, describing them as towering structures displaying tens of thousands of skulls. For centuries, these accounts were considered exaggerations, the hyperbole of conquerors attempting to demonize a defeated culture. However, modern archaeological discoveries confirm the accounts of the Spanish conquerors with unsettling precision. Deep within the earth, beneath the modern city that now covers ancient Tenochtitlan, excavations have unearthed the remnants of the great Tzompantli of Tenochtitlan, a central structure flanked by two smaller towers of skulls. Thousands upon thousands of fragments, evidence of many tens of thousands of individual human skulls, have been found, meticulously arranged in exactly the manner described. The remains show signs of having belonged to men, women, and even children, suggesting that while warriors formed the core, other categories of sacrifice also contributed to this macabre monument. They were not merely piled haphazardly, they were carefully selected, prepared, and positioned, each one an intentional element in a larger ritualistic mosaic. This discovery brought to life the chilling reality of Aztec ritual practice, grounding the often abstract concept of human sacrifice in a visceral, undeniable physical presence. The Great Tzompantli was not just a myth, it was a cornerstone of their urban landscape, a daily reminder of their devotion and their power. It was an ever-present feature, a constant, silent chorus of past offerings, continually reinforced as new sacrifices were made and new skulls were added. The structure was dynamic, growing and evolving, a living archive of Tenochtitlan's spiritual and military conquests. Consider the psychological impact of living in a city where such a structure was a focal point. Children would grow up seeing it, understanding its purpose. Merchants would conduct business under its shadow. Priests would perform rituals in its presence. For the Aztecs, this was not a place of pure terror, but a sacred space, a nexus between the human and the divine, a powerful expression of their understanding of the universe. It was a site of profound reverence and immense power, a tangible connection to the gods and to the ancestors. It underscored the absolute seriousness of their religious beliefs and the lengths to which they would go to uphold their cosmic responsibilities. The Tzompantli represents a pinnacle of their sacrificial system, a physical manifestation of their most profound beliefs about life, death, and the delicate balance of the cosmos. It stands as a stark testament to a worldview utterly alien to our own, yet deeply logical within its own framework. You are not just observing a historical relic. You are confronting a powerful, disturbing mirror reflecting the essence of a civilization defined by its uncompromising devotion. In its silent glare, you witness the chilling, unblinking truth of the Aztec Empire's spiritual heart. You stand before the silent, skull-studded truth of the Tzompantli, a structure that whispers of an empire built on the intricate, often terrifying, dance between life and death. But what led to such a stark expression of devotion? What drove a civilization to commit acts so profoundly disturbing, yet so deeply sacred in their own eyes? To truly understand, you must step beyond the silent glare of the skulls and descend into the vibrant, crimson heart of Aztec ritual. The Aztecs believed the cosmos itself was a fragile, dynamic entity, perpetually on the brink of collapse. Their gods, they taught, had sacrificed themselves to create the sun, the moon, and humanity. This cosmic debt demanded repayment. The sun, Tonatiuh, required a steady diet of human blood and hearts to make its daily journey across the sky, to prevent the world from plunging into eternal darkness. Without this sacred sustenance, the fifth sun, their current era, would surely end just as 4 previous suns had perished. This was not a choice, it was an absolute existential necessity. It was their sacred duty, a cosmic burden, and their most profound expression of faith. Imagine yourself in the heart of Tenochtitlan on a day of great ceremony, perhaps during the dedication of a new temple or a major festival. The air thrums with a low rhythmic pulse, the distant sound of drums, the deep resonance of conch shell trumpets. You are enveloped by the murmuring crowd, a sea of faces turned toward the towering pyramids of the Templo Mayor, its twin shrines dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, and Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility. Smoke from copal incense drifts heavy and sweet, mingling with the earthy tang of damp stone and something else, something metallic and sharp, carried on the breeze. You watch as a procession begins. Not just priests, but captives, often warriors taken from neighboring city-states in the ritualized flowery wars, specifically fought to secure sacrificial victims. These individuals are often bathed, adorned, and sometimes even feasted, treated with a strange reverence that belies their ultimate fate. For some, particularly elite warriors, this was not a moment of pure terror, but a grim recognition of their warrior's destiny, a final act of courage in service of their gods. For others, surely, it was unimaginable dread. You follow the line of victims as they ascend the steep, worn steps of the pyramid. The climb is arduous, a deliberate ascent towards the divine. Each step takes them higher, closer to the heavens, closer to the sacrificial stone at the summit. The crowd below grows silent, their collective breath held in anticipation. The drumming intensifies, a relentless heartbeat echoing against the stone. At the top, before the entrance to Huitzilopochtli's shrine, stands the Techcatl, the sacrificial stone. It is a convex slab, designed to arch the victim's chest, making the heart more accessible. Around it, for priests, their bodies painted black, their hair matted with dried blood, their faces stoic and utterly focused, prepare for their sacred duty. One priest, the Tlenamakak, holds the obsidian blade, its edge gleaming with a terrifying razor sharpness. The victim is led to the stone, held firmly by the limbs by the assisting priests. The atmosphere is electric, charged with spiritual energy and the stark reality of the moment. You hear the sharp, quick intake of breath from the crowd as the blade descends. It is not a prolonged act. Efficiency is paramount. A swift, deep incision is made just beneath the rib cage. The priest's hand, skilled from countless repetitions, plunges in. You can almost feel the cold, sharp shock of the obsidian, the tearing of tissue. Then, with a forceful twist, the beating heart is wrenched free. The silence that follows is profound, broken only by the gasping reverence of the onlookers. The heart, still pulsing, is immediately lifted high, an offering to the ravenous sun god. Smoke from an incense burner envelopes it momentarily, a sacred shroud. It is then placed in a kuoxikali, a stone vessel often carved with eagle motifs, ready for consumption by the divine. But the ritual does not end with the heart's removal. The body, now lifeless, is unceremoniously pushed down the steep steps of the pyramid, tumbling end over end, a macabre spectacle for the masses below. This was not just disposal, it was part of the ritual, a stark reminder of the fate awaiting those who defied the empire or failed to honor the gods. At the base of the pyramid, other priests await. The bodies might then be dismembered. The head, once cleansed, would join the growing collection on the Tzompantli. Limbs might be distributed to noble families and elite warriors for ritualistic consumption, a symbolic act of incorporating the bravery and spirit of the fallen warrior, not a form of sustenance. This was a complex, highly ritualized act, imbued with deep spiritual significance, a communion with the divine and a way to absorb the strength of their enemies. Beyond heart extraction, other forms of sacrifice, equally disturbing to modern sensibilities, were practiced. Self-sacrifice, often involving bloodletting by piercing ears, tongues, or genitals with obsidian blades or stingray spines, was common among all levels of society, an ongoing, personal act of devotion. Children, particularly during times of drought, were sometimes sacrificed to Tlaloc, the rain god, their tears believed to be especially potent offerings to bring forth life-giving rain. These were not acts of cruelty for cruelty's sake, but desperate, profound pleas to the cosmos, undertaken in the belief that they were literally saving their world. The scale of these rituals was staggering. During the dedication of the enlarged Templo Mayor in 1487, chronicles suggest tens of thousands of captives were sacrificed over 4 days, a continuous torrent of blood flowing down the pyramid steps. While the exact numbers are debated by historians, the sheer volume of sacrificial activity across the empire was immense, shaping the landscape, the politics, and the daily lives of every Aztec citizen. The priests who officiated these rites were not seen as monsters, but as vital intermediaries, highly trained and deeply spiritual individuals. They underwent rigorous fasting, celibacy, and self-mutilation to achieve a state of ritual purity, making them worthy of communion with the gods. Their role was one of immense power and responsibility, ensuring the cosmic balance, interpreting divine will, and maintaining order both celestial and terrestrial. For the common Aztec, these rituals were an integral part of life, a public spectacle that reinforced the social order, the power of the state, and the inescapable presence of the gods. They instilled both awe and fear, a constant reminder of the fragility of existence and the absolute authority of the divine. The sight, the sounds, the smells, the pervasive aroma of blood and incense, were woven into the fabric of their reality. It was terrifying, yes, but also deeply unifying, a shared participation in the immense cosmic drama. You may find yourself recoiling from these images, from the stark brutality and the unyielding finality of the obsidian blade. Yet, to the Aztecs, these were not acts of barbarism, but the most profound expressions of their devotion, their understanding of a demanding universe, and their desperate struggle to ensure its continuation. They believed they were literally sustaining the world through their sacrifices, offering the most precious gift they possessed, human life and the vital force of the heart, to keep the sun burning and the rains falling. The disturbing rituals of the Aztec Empire, when viewed through their own lens, reveal not a people driven by wanton cruelty, but by an unwavering, uncompromising faith and a profound sense of cosmic responsibility. In the crimson flow, in the beating heart offered to the sky, you confront the stark reality of their spiritual heart. A terrifyingly logical system designed to hold the universe together, a system utterly alien, yet undeniably powerful in its chilling devotion. It is a truth that demands you rethink your assumptions about humanity, faith, and the lengths to which belief can lead.